This school is named after Onísimo Hernandez, who was the first Mexican-American physician, doctor to graduate from UT Southwestern, right here in the neighborhood. Also, it's a Montessori academy, so named after Maria Montessori, who was one of the very first female physicians of Italy and is famous also for her teaching methods. And actually at the time when she went to medical school, she had to get special permission from the Pope. And so today we're faced with a situation where many of our students do not see those opportunities for themselves still in 2022, right? And so what we do at Outteach is we work with teachers and we work with schools so that all students can see themselves in STEM careers in the future. We know from research that students often rule out STEM-based careers by the time they go into middle school. We also know that STEM careers are they're the fastest growing sector in our economy. And we also know that the problems of the future are unknown, right? We can only anticipate what the future solutions we will need and the future jobs that we will need and future skills. So what we're here to do today is create this beautiful outdoor space where students can work together to solve problems, develop their 21st century skills, and be the doers and the thinkers and the dreamers and future problem solvers. And so they have had the way paved for them by Maria Montessori, Onísimo Hernandez, and many others, right, in our society. And so what I want to do today is I want to give you a little taste of what we do with students in the outdoors. So as the pins are going around, I will give you some quick instructions here. So what I'm going to ask you to do is explore this space. We'll stay on this side of the sidewalk and in this kind of courtyard area. And I want you to identify and pick up a rock that will fit in the palm of your hand. All right, so a rock that will fit in the palm of your hand. Now this part is very important. The rock is a secret rock. I don't want you to let anybody else see your rock because it is a secret. When you get your rock, I want you to take your clipboard and your pen and I want you to describe your rock. You can use bullets, you can write it in paragraph form in prose, you can write a haiku if you would like, all right? But your goal is to make sure that you describe your rock in enough detail so that someone else will be able to pick it out of a pile. So, those are the instructions. We are going to play a little game of I Spy. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask two of you to volunteer to come down with me and be the spies. And then we will have one person volunteer to read their description. And what the spies will do is the spies are going to observe these rocks very closely and try to identify the rock that is being described. Now, if you are describing your rock, you can add detail. If I'm over here and I'm trying to find it, and you think maybe I need some additional details, you can add details to your description. If you say the rock is triangular and then I pick up this rock and you see me do that, you can say the rock is triangular. You can repeat yourself, right? So you can repeat yourself, add details, just don't tell us which rock it is, okay? So, can I have two volunteers who want to come down and be spies? All right, Donna, come on down. Who else? All right, Aisha, come on down. Great, great, great. All right, so who would like to be the first person to read their description? All right, here we go.
My rock is cream colored plus dirt.
Cream colored plus dirt.
And it's round and oblong, like a jelly bean.
Oh, boom. All right, do you both agree that's it? All right. So, what are some of the words that you heard or some of the descriptions that helped you identify the correct rocks? All right. So we got shape, color, texture, jelly bean, size, $50. Now, what types of words are these? Okay, we've got a lot of adjectives here. So what are some of the adjectives that we have? Examples of adjectives that we use. Right, so for shape we had round. How about one for color? Was there an adjective? All right, was there one that we heard for texture? Smooth. All right, and size? $50, good. So, what subject is this? English language arts, yes, but also science, yes. So parts of speech, right? Adjectives, nouns. So tell me about the science connection here.
So we're making observations.
We are. We're making very careful observations, right? Observations that are so fine that we can tell the difference between all those rocks that are about the same size and the same color, but we could still do it, right? So we're making observations. And what are shape, color, texture, and size examples of? Anyone know in science, if you're thinking scientifically? These are physical properties of matter. And so from pre-K on up, we teach the physical properties of matter. As adults, you naturally went ahead and categorized them into shape. Students will list these: round, triangular, beige. They'll list the details, right? The actual adjectives. And then what we do with them is go through and categorize all those into shape. What are all the shape adjectives or the physical properties, right? What are all the color adjectives or the physical properties of color, right? And texture. And we go through like that. And so it's a great example of how we're developing students' observational skills, because when we do scientific inquiry with students and student-directed learning, the first thing that students need to be able to do is to ask questions. A scientist asks questions. Well, where do questions come from? They come from careful observation. So this is one of the most fundamental things that we can do to integrate early science and English and language arts so that students are developing their language skills and developing their science skills simultaneously. And one of the things that I will point out, we also had a heart was mentioned, and I'm going to add heart to the list because this happens quite frequently that students and adults see hearts, see heart shapes. And so I'm going to add heart, and then I want to circle these three. I want to circle jelly bean, $50, and heart in red. And so we described our rocks using jelly bean, $50, and heart. I want to think of the right question here. Jelly bean is a little bit different than the rest. These three that I've identified have something in common. Jelly bean, $50, heart. What do those three descriptors have in common? Yes, they are similes. They are similes. And I tell you what, I taught 5th grade. And I would hear teachers in 4th grade, we started to get into similes at the time and metaphors. And oftentimes I would hear conversations about, oh, well, my students just aren't picking up on that concept, similes and metaphors. And that didn't make sense to me, because when I was teaching outside, I know my students were automatically using similes and metaphors, right? And so kindergarten students will do the same thing. Oh, it's shaped like a heart. It's shaped like a $50. It's shaped like a jelly bean. They already use similes and metaphors in their daily speech. And our job as a teacher is just to point out, like I was always like, hey, you already know that, right? And then they get that sense of competency, and that helps them grow as learners and gives them some confidence, right? So this is a great lesson too for introducing parts of speech. How do you think these concepts would normally be taught in the indoor classroom?
Probably with a worksheet.
A worksheet?
Yeah. Or in isolation. This is what a simile is.
Right, here's the simile lesson. Here's what a simile is. And then in the future, let's say 3 months down the road from the time you teach that lesson, what does the student have to connect back to? Are they going to connect back to a worksheet? Are they going to connect back to a Tuesday morning at 9:30, you know, on March 21st? Like, are they going to be able to recall that? This experiential learning, gives students something to tie back to in the future. When they think similes and metaphors in the future, they'll think back to, oh, the time we went out and I found the heart-shaped rock, right? And they have something to connect their learning to. And that's what's so important about what we're doing with our teachers in our schools, is it's experiential learning. And we're creating a common experience for all students to have. Students don't come to school with the same background, the same experience. When they come outdoors and they have an experience, right, as their lesson, then they have a common ground to build upon. And so that's what we are doing with our teachers and our students at Outteach, is we are giving them these opportunities to explore the outdoors, apply math skills and reading skills in a real world context, to study outdoor phenomena in science. And we're doing that in a way that provides a common experience and also helps them to see their future, because we have people out here today digging in the soil. Students will be out here planting before too much longer and digging in the soil. And guess what? You can do that for a career. And you can do that if you are a man, you can do that if you are a woman, you can do that regardless of your race or ethnicity or the zip code that you grew up in. And so the other thing that we want to do is we always want to connect what we're doing with students to the future. What you're doing today is not just about what you're doing in school for your lesson or to get a grade. What you're doing today is to connect you to the world outside the school, to connect you with each other so you can work together and solve problems and see yourself in a potential future STEM career. Not all students will go into STEM careers, but it's still very important for students to have the ability to form an argument, make a claim, support that claim with evidence and reasoning. So even for students that don't go into STEM careers, this will help them to be better citizens, right? Better people, more connected with the world around them, more connected with each other, more able to make their own decisions based on evidence and reasoning. So that's what we do at Outteach. Any questions?